Great deal today.
Good morning, America. Fast freeze, a big chill moving into the Northeast just days after 80-degree temperatures. Plus, more snow on the way. Half a foot now in the forecast.
Also this morning, the fight to the finish. Donald Trump taking aim at Obamacare and Vice President Biden.
Biden wants to take me to the back of the barn. Me. I'd love that.
As Trump's famous surrogate Newt Gingrich takes on the media and Megyn Kelly.
He's not a sexual predator.
Okay, that's your opinion. I'm not taking a position
defend
on
that
it.
statement. You are fascinated with sex.
What she then says to him.
Excuse me, Mr.
Donald.
Speaker.
While Hillary Clinton lines up another big endorsement and looks to dance her way to victory in just 13 days.
Urgent search for this shooter. Caught on camera. The woman with the gun seen shooting 3 people, including a 12-year-old, after police say she robbed them, getting away with their phones and wallets.
And Cubs can't touch this. The Indians shutting down Chicago to open the World Series. Their ace on the mound, untouchable. Their catcher crushing 2 homers, while the stars align behind their favorite teams.
Bring it home! Bring it home, Cubs! Bring it home!
Live in Times Square, this is GMA with Robin Roberts, George Stephanopoulos, and Michael Strahan.
We do say good morning, America, and boy, to be a Cleveland sports fan this morning, they are mighty happy waking up.
Can't wait to see Oprah after that first game. If that was going into the first game, she's not going to be happy.
Right. And I stayed up late to watch that. And another thing I stayed up late to watch were the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are right across the street. LeBron James and the rest of the Cavaliers getting their rings, raising the banner. And the fans got a double dose of happiness because the Cavs won, and they got a chance to watch the baseball game on the Q's Jumbotron screen. There they are cheering on the game. And they kept the game on the screens even after the basketball game ended. Keep the fans there, let them cheer for their team.
I hear the players wanted to go over and watch the end of the game.
Yeah. You know, when I was in college, we wanted to come out and watch our band at halftime. They were better than we were as football players. So I totally get the case.
Truth hurts, right?
We're going to have much more on that in a moment, and it's so good to have David Muir sitting by our side because George is on assignment. He is in Washington, D.C. this morning. He's about to sit down with Donald Trump, his wife Melania, and the whole Trump family, and we're going to have that exclusive interview for you tomorrow morning right here on GMA.
Of course, we look forward to that. In the meantime, the cold snap. Michael and I were both admiring the sweater dress here, Robin.
Yes. Well, thank you very
Nobody
much.
rocks it better than you. And
Maybe it's cold outside. It is cold outside.
So let's get right over to Chief Meteorologist Ginger D this morning. You're tracking it all, rain and snow.
Right, and that's what's going to become dangerous. But this is the time of year that I step outside and I go, no, I don't like it. But I know this is where we divide, not because of politics, because a lot of folks love this blast of almost winter. You're seeing the frost advisories from Kentucky there to the freeze warnings up into Massachusetts. The actual numbers, as far as wind chills go, are right around that freezing mark at this moment in Philadelphia and New York City. Look at Binghamton at 26, 31 Pittsburgh this morning. And here's the dangerous part I was talking about. The winter weather advisories in place for some 3 to 6 inches for parts of the Catskills and even Adirondacks. And you can see here the snow coming in, the timing. Thursday morning, so tomorrow is the messier day. Today's just the chill ahead of the mess, if that any.
80 degrees last week. Is that a figure of
Weren't we talking records?
Yeah.
Darn October.
All right, Ginger, thank you. The race for the White House now just 13 days until the election, and Hillary Clinton has a 9-point lead in our new ABC News tracking poll as Donald Trump goes on the attack over Obamacare and Vice President Joe Biden. ABC's Tom Yamas is in Washington, where Trump will be celebrating the grand opening of his new hotel this morning. Good morning, Tom.
Robin, good morning to you. Donald Trump says he'll make it to Pennsylvania Avenue one way or another. This is one of those ways. Now, this hotel is already open, but Trump is taking advantage of all the media coverage for a ribbon cutting today. With less than 2 weeks to go, Donald Trump taking time away from the voters to spend time with his business. Overnight, Donald Trump sending a message to Vice President Joe Biden. Bring it on.
Did you see where Biden wants to take me to the back of the barn? Me. He wants it. I'd love that. I'd love that.
The vice president actually started it.
I'll get myself in trouble and say something like I'd like to take him behind the gym if I were in high school.
He's Mr. Tough Guy. You know when he's Mr. Tough Guy? When he's standing behind a microphone by himself. That's when he's... He wants to bring me to the back of the barn. Oh. Some things in life you could really love doing.
Also ready for a fight? one of Trump's biggest surrogates, Newt Gingrich.
I want to hear your words, Bill Clinton, sexual predator. I dare you. Say Bill Clinton, sexual predator.
Taking on the media's coverage of Donald Trump's female accusers in an explosive interview with Megyn Kelly.
You want to go back through the tapes of your show recently? You are fascinated with sex, and you don't care about public policy.
Me?
Now, that's
Really?
what I get out of watching you tonight.
You know what, Mr. Speaker, I'm not fascinated by sex, but I am fascinated by the protection of women and understanding what we're getting in the Oval Office.
In Florida, Trump taking on Obamacare.
It's killing our businesses. It's killing our small businesses. It's killing individuals.
Trump seizing on the news that people who get their insurance through the federal exchange will see their premiums spike on average 25%.
That number is so wrong. That is such a phony number. You're talking about 60, 70, 80%.
But Trump stumbling in his attack, saying his own employees are already suffering.
All of my employees are having a tremendous problem with Obamacare.
Then, just 9 minutes later, in that same speech,
They're not worried about their health care because we take great care of people.
after Trump left, the resort's general manager acknowledged the vast majority of workers there don't use Obamacare at all.
And maybe there's a few that are insured through Obamacare, but very, very few.
Clinton also in Florida. If she's sweating Trump, it's hard to tell. First, dancing on a Univision show, then later, taking in an Adele concert in Miami.
I feel good, but boy, I'm not taking anything for granted.
Now, Adele is a British citizen, so she can't vote, but Hillary Clinton getting another big endorsement. Former Secretary of State General Colin Powell saying he will vote for Hillary Clinton. And we want to go back to that exchange of Megyn Kelly and Newt Gingrich because there's a tweet from a member of the Trump campaign that's getting a lot of attention this morning. That tweet from Dan Scavino, he's the social media director for Donald Trump. He tweeted out, Megyn Kelly made a total fool out of herself tonight, attacking Donald Trump. Watch what happens to her after this election is over. It's unclear what Scavino meant, but some are taking this as a direct threat to Megyn Kelly. David?
Well, Tom, thanks. With just 13 days left, that's what we are now talking about. Matt Dowd, John Carr, our political team here. And, you know, this conversation did continue beyond what we saw just there in Tom's piece. We wanted to take a look at that and get your reaction on the backside here. Here it is.
I want to hear your words, Bill Clinton, sexual predator. I dare you. Say Bill Clinton, sexual predator.
Mr. Speaker,
disbarred
we've covered...
by the Arkansas bar. Disbarred by the Arkansas bar. $850,000 penalty.
Excuse me, sir. We on the Kelly file have covered the Clinton matter as well. And the polls also show that the American public is less interested in the deeds of Hillary Clinton's husband than they are in the deeds of the man who asks us to make him president, Donald Trump. We're going to have to leave it at that. And you can take your anger issues and spend some time working on them, Mr. Speaker. Thanks for being here.
And you too.
Well, and there you have it. We have just a few days left until this election. I'm just curious what the Trump team thinks they have to gain by taking on Megyn Kelly with so few days left, Matt.
Well, my guess is that wasn't a strategic episode that they wanted to happen in the course of this, but they're going to, as they always do, going to defend it. This happens. I've been involved in a lot of campaigns. At the end of a campaign, there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of frustration. And usually some people lose their mind in the course of that and don't know how to respond to it. It actually, Newt Gingrich actually reminded me, remember the character from Peter Pan, Toodles, who lost his marbles? Right. That's what that reminded me of.
Wow. All right.
Wow, Matt.
Matt's going to get the tweet now.
Newt Gingrich on line one.
But speaking of that tweet, let's go back to that. Saying, watch what's going to happen to Megyn Kelly after this election.
Well, you never get, one thing, you never get in a fight with a referee. That never helps. And Tommy Lasorda used to say, don't fight with somebody that buys ink by the barrel, right? And if Donald Trump has a problem with women, why would you want to get in a fight with one of the most popular women broadcasters on cable news?
Yeah, makes no sense. And John, let's bring you in on this now. This is another issue that doesn't seem to be going away for Donald Trump. And there are new polls out. But what are these polls reflecting? Does this affect?
Well, look at our poll, our tracking poll. Donald Trump is down 17 points among women. You do not get elected president of the United States if you were down 17 points among women. He needs to gain some ground. There will be a gender gap. He needs to close it. It can't be a Grand Canyon of a gender gap, and obviously this doesn't help. But ironically, Gingrich was complaining about not paying attention to the issues during this exchange, and he guaranteed again, they would go off in this other direction.
But let me ask, based on that poll and that gender gap that you point out, because Donald Trump in the last couple of days has promised a Brexit here in America, the shocking outcome in the UK. They woke up the next morning to that surprise. He says that's exactly what he's going to pull off here. Do you think that's possible?
Well, first, the Brexit thing is a myth. If you look at the numbers in the Brexit thing, the majority of the polls going into that election had Leave winning in that. It was a very dead even race. It was a very dead even race going in. Today, the race, as John says, we have it at 9, average is at 7. It's very hard to overcome that.
All right.
Not impossible. Not impossible. You can close the gap, but
this close to impossible.
Yes.
We got a duel here at the end of the day.
Saying he's got a chance.
Exactly. Well, thank you both, and we're going to bring you back for the big board to talk a little bit more about that in the next half hour. But now to a mid-air mystery: a giant passenger plane declaring an emergency, diverting to another airport after multiple crew members got sick on board. ABC's David Curley joins us now. And David, what's the latest on this investigation?
Well, we're not getting a lot from British Airways this morning, Robin. We know that it was an emergency declared, a diversion, but the mystery is, why were some of the crew members sickened and taken to the hospital, but none of the passengers? This morning, little explanation from British Airways on how members of the crew on this super jumbo jet became ill, but not the passengers. Firefighters and breathing gear walked through the double-decker after it diverted to Vancouver.
Can you say again the emergency for me, please?
Let's do fumes, toxic gas type fumes.
Declaring an emergency with more than 400 passengers on board. After taking off from San Francisco, the jet dumped fuel, telling passengers they would have to land.
People started panicking. There's a woman in the seat next to us who was crying.
The London-bound jet makes a turn.
We could have done a complete U-turn, and I was just like, what's going on here?
One passenger telling ABC News he was told 3 crew members passed out. British Air says there's no evidence of that. But the pilots passed up nearby airports to head to Vancouver, which is better equipped to handle the big jumbo jet. On the ground, not one passenger hospitalized, but while 11 of the crew were reportedly ill, all 25 were sent to the hospital as a precaution, according to the airline.
Sometimes these things are very difficult because maybe one person smells something, maybe they react one way, maybe you can't pin down that fume. Maybe it was something coming from the cargo hold that was just momentary.
The 25 members of the crew were discharged from the hospital. All British Air is telling us this morning is they're investigating the cause of whatever made that crew member ill. David?
All right, it was concerning. David Curley with us. David, thanks. You know, as millions head out to vote in just a few days, you may want to think twice before taking a selfie. Justin Timberlake, of all people, making headlines this morning for snapping this photo inside a Tennessee voting booth where it's not allowed. ABC's Lindsay Davis has more on the rule affecting millions of Americans.
Happy birthday to you, HMC.
Katy Perry donning red, white, and blue in this video to promote early voting. And on Monday, Justin Timberlake posted this now deleted picture where he wrote, "I just flew from LA to Memphis to hashtag rock the vote. No excuses, my good people." The singers are just 2 of more than 9 million Americans already hitting the polls before November 8th.
You just step in the box, babe, and then you vote in the box.
Timberlake is no stranger to voting activism. He encouraged early voting in this YouTube video from President Obama's 2008 campaign and posted this selfie with presidential candidate Hillary Clinton earlier this year. But it's that hashtag voting selfie that had the potential to land the star in hot water. In Tennessee, voters are prohibited from taking photos or videos at the ballot box. And while violators could face up to 30 days in jail and a $50 fine, Timberlake appears to be in the clear. The district attorney tells ABC News, "No one in our office is currently investigating the matter." But now that early voting is underway in 37 states, hashtag voting selfies are taking over social networks. People are showing off "I voted" stickers or snapping pics of mail-in ballots, perhaps unaware that the images could be considered criminal.
It's safe to take a picture of yourself and say that you voted. The question arises when you do it in the voting booth.
In at least 18 states, taking a photo inside a polling place or showing how one marks their ballot is unlawful.
It's very unlikely that anyone's going to go to jail or be fined over taking a selfie in the voting booth, but it's best not to risk it unless your name is Justin Timberlake.
The Department of Justice and FBI will both be at the polls November 8th, looking for more than voting selfies, of course. But there are some states that actually take this very seriously, like Pennsylvania and Vermont, where they allow for fines of up to $1,000. So people resist the urge,
put the selfies away for later, David.
And Lindsay, I was also hearing that from some states in Iowa, what they have set up is once you leave the booth, they have a board set up where you can take a picture of yourself outside.
Right. Outside, yeah.
Thank goodness.
Outside
you keep the actual voting moment private, which is what we do here in America, right?
Get that selfie in.
All right, we got Amy with the other overnight developments coming in.
All right, good morning, guys. And we learned overnight that a theme park here in the U.S. has now closed a similar ride. The Congo River ride at Busch Gardens in Tampa is closed until it's clear what went wrong in Australia. 4 people died there when a river ride malfunctioned. Among the victims are a brother and sister. More pressure this morning for the Pentagon after thousands of soldiers were ordered to give back bonuses they received. The White House is calling on defense officials to speed up a review, and House Speaker Paul Ryan wants to immediately suspend efforts to recover the money. Well, some Volkswagen owners will soon be getting a major payout as part of the $10 billion settlement for diesel vehicles that cheated on emissions tests. VW will pay owners between $5,000 and $10,000 for their trouble. And finally, vindication for a young couple as one of the most reputable newspapers in the world finally sets the record straight. A new bride and groom who recently made it into the coveted New York Times Vows column were the victims of an embarrassing journalistic error. In fact, the Times actually printed a correction because the paper misstated the number of stones in the bride's engagement ring. Whoa. It has 9, not 7.
Very important.
Yes. Glad they cleared that up.
You better get that right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you don't mess that up. And thank you, Amy. Now, the huge night in Cleveland for the Indians and Gio Benitez was there for it all. Good morning, Gio.
Oh, what a night, Michael. Here we are at home base, but the pressure is on for the Cubs because 64% of the time, the team that ends up winning game 1 of the series wins it all.
Here it comes.
Corey Kluber leading the Cleveland Indians to a 6-0 shutout over the Chicago Cubs. The pitching ace making World Series history with 8 strikeouts by just the 3rd inning. Cubs hitters one after another shaking their heads.
He's executing his pitches. He's relaxed, calm, and that's really allowing him to get the ball where he wants to.
Tight team. There's a shot into left. And gone. Home run.
The Indians' offense led by an unusual suspect, Roberto Perez, the team's catcher. Perez hit only 3 home runs during the regular season. Well, last night, he hit 2 homers, bringing in 4 runs.
6-0.
For the Cubs, one bright note, the return of Kyle Schwarber, who had been out since April with a knee injury. He slammed a double, but it wasn't enough.
2-2. Indians win game 1.
Even the Cleveland Cavaliers, playing their first game last night, got in on the act.
He struck him out. That's great.
The Cavs plan on attending tonight's game in support of their Cleveland brethren. LeBron even made a special bet with fellow basketball superstar Dwayne Wade.
Whoever team loses, the loser has to show up during the NBA season to the other guy's home game dressed as the team who won. If the Cleveland Indians win in January when we come to town, I'll walk in dressed just like Cleveland Indians.
And if Chicago pulls it out, LeBron has to wear a Chicago Cubs outfit when he plays the Bulls. So much competition here, guys.
That's a lot of pressure. You're rooting for you. You're like, come on, please don't make me do that. And Ginger, you have the World Series forecast for us.
Right, and they've actually moved the game up an hour, which is great for our sleep, and that's to beat the rain that is incoming. So first pitch should be 47, breezy. You can see the showers, but the showers would come late because look at that, Wednesday, 11 p.m. Our computer model keeping it just west of Cleveland. Until then, the Chilly City's now brought to you by CarMax.
You know how it is. Someone does something nice for you and you feel obligated to do something nice back. Maybe your aunt sent you a crocheted scarf and you sent her a thank you note and the crochet just kept on coming. Well, at CarMax, you don't have to return the favor. They'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from them because feeling obligated is uncomfortable and tight in places it shouldn't be. CarMax won't make you feel that way. Lucky you. I feel like a quilt.
Well, it's our coldest start of the season so far in more than 5 months throughout the area. Temperatures today only climbing into the upper 50s across the area. But this morning, we're seeing those temperatures in the 30s. We've got a frost advisory that continues until 9 a.m. in and around D.C. and a freeze warning north and west from Frederick County, Maryland toward Fauquier County, north and west. Their temperatures likely to be down below freezing for quite some time. Next chance of rain comes Thursday, warmer weekend.
Can I just give you one moment? Look at this picture. The fall color up there in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So